together for me. It's just crazy.
So for the women that want to do rituals, they should be calling back the sweet waters of Oshun. That's the love energy. In order for the love energy to come back, all that dirty dirt shit got to get cleaned up. The last major conjure to close is the Haitian conjure, and it's in the process.
Mm. Reacquaint yourselves with. Okay, let's see. Let's see what she's talking about.
That's what we were saying earlier about sinking back to the earth, walking barefoot and grounding. Yeah.
Okay. Where's where they mention how Europe came to find Americas for the yay. What are some of its original uses using the plant cocaine is from? Okay, for the yay. Oh, yayo. Okay. What are some of its original uses using the plant cocaine is from?
They used to use it for pain reliever. They used to use it. They used to make tea out of the leaves. They never used to use the concentrate. Cocaine is a concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it had an effect like caffeine, except stronger.
That's a good question, Reynolds. Throw that in the question box for me so I can pin it. But he said all the black nobility, the dirty Moors. Actually, I just mentioned it.
100%.
100%. Okay. So is it for me? It feels like it's really time. Like even with Doug telling Ye, like I got 100 acres of land that you can use. So it is time for us to try that rebuild, almost like another Black Wall Street, or just are we getting back to nature with this one?
Listen, the Black Wall Street was everywhere. It wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had communities that we set up after we left the Gullah Wars. When we was going back into the land, they had declared the land abandoned under the salvage rights so they can use squatters' rights to colonize. So when we was going back, we had everywhere we went, we generate the sweetest source of wealth on earth. Gold, if we wasn't on earth, gold wouldn't be here. Platinum wouldn't be here. As the side effects of very specific star seeds walking the earth. The side effect is the earth produces in its anatomy chemical signature identifying the strain of being on the earth.
Because, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because the earth is just a larger expression of us. So, I mean, we got all those chemicals and minerals in our body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's a good one. Can he expound on the matriarchal call and the shift back into a matriarchal societal structure in the higher timeline?
So the call of the matriarch is spiritual. If you see now, there's the women is finding where they comfortable. They move in locations to going back to places they used to live in past lives where when the energy shifts, they automatically know where they need to be. And they start making arrangements to be in that location. They answering the call. All of the mothers is telepathically linked, but they don't know it yet.
But let me see. And when do you feel like they'll know it? What will it take? Is just an awakening? Is it ritual or is it
it's a subtle becoming aware.
Okay.
Right? The only reason I figured this stuff out is watching patterns. As I watch the patterns, I can't help but notice it. They took it on themselves to write these contracts and laws. That's why they use $5 Indians to sign the contract, because we wasn't signing that shit. They brought them over here to specifically say they Indians and declare them chiefs by presidential order so they can sign a treaty. We ain't signing no treaties with them motherfuckers.
It's funny, like looking back on, I was just watching If you haven't checked out, it's UB News TV. He does great work and research and talks about the lodges. And the other day he did he talks about the Boule, but the other day he did one on Noble Drew Ali and just kind of breaking down his beginnings, where he really came from, his pilgrimages to Mecca, and how they basically coined him, or not coined him, but donned him a prophet. And then he came back over here and essentially convinced all these people, these natives that were here in America, that they were from Morocco, or had them playing like they were from Morocco when they would get in trouble. So it's very informative, like just seeing the other side of what you've read in books, just going a little deeper. But yeah, Noble Drew, I know I've heard you speak on him, and from what I understand, you've always spoke highly of him. But is there other side? Was there a sinister side or a reason behind him starting what he started here in America with the Moorish?
What he started is not what you see.
Okay.
It changed.
Okay.
He had set the Moorish Science Temple up in the beginning to be able to send them grand sheiks to get our people out of their system, because they understood the relationship with the contracts that had nothing to do with us. But one of the clerks went behind his back and signed contracts with the same motherfuckers we was trying to get away from. And the reason you know this is because on the back of your nationality card, it say clear as day, the holder of this card is a U.S. citizen. How you gonna be a free Moorish national and a U.S. citizen? It's not possible. It's a blatant contradiction in your face.
Right. That's real. Okay, so here's a piggyback on that topic. Hey, Shane says, so should we be correct in status, declaring ourselves indigenous as Aboriginal, or just wait?
At this point, you can just wait it out. If you know who the fuck you is, you can just wait it out. Disassociate from the system so that motherfucker could go and finish collapsing.
Right. So would you recommend something as simple as like deregistering yourself? Like just killing the contracts that you have out there, even though their contract ended, a lot of people
You abandon the contract for fraud.
Just abandon it.
You abandon the contract because if you know there's a fraud there and you're still trying to meet the terms of the contract, you party to the fraud, which incriminates you in the court of law. If anybody ever called them on that fraud in the court of law, all of the people who willingly participated in the fraud, once they became aware that the fraud existed, is just as guilty as the ones that started the fraud.
Because if you still, yep. That's real. Good question, though. Yeah, I would say you need to tap in more, but we'll see what Rod got to say.
That's the essential symptoms he's describing. I can't see the whole thing.
It says, is there a meaning behind my body being restless, or more so of me not being asleep? It's been happening since a young age.
It could be nutritional deficiency, but if your spiritual self is vibrating too high, you won't be able to sleep. You use a cat nap.
So he's got to integrate that.
Right. So he had to train himself, like what I did when I was locked up. Every night before they lock us down, I drink a big ass cup of water before I go to bed, right? Because the water hydrates the body and is soothing to the central nervous system, right? And then I lay down, and within no time I'm out. So then I begin to keep doing it till I train myself. When I ain't tired, when I need to get some sleep and I ain't tired, I can still go drink a big cup of water and go straight to sleep. I can do it now. That's how, instead of letting somebody else condition you, learn how to condition yourself.
That's real. And I know for me, if you just he said he can't get no sleep, but I know when I wake up in the middle of the night at a certain time, I normally just sit down and I'll try to sit down and meditate. That normally means I'm supposed to be getting a message. Especially if it's in like the heat of the middle of the night. And then I'll be peeing all night.
But that's why I did it. Another reason why I done it too, because I needed to train myself to hold my pee all night.
Mm. Oh, dang. I ain't seen this. Probably because I never registered to vote. She said, why did Mellon notice it stating years we voted or not?
Look, all of those is adhesion contracts. You fill that shit out, you making an agreement with them to participate.
And the electoral college really decide that. It's basically tacit agreement to follow whatever laws or whatever happens during that current regime. Going along with the get along.
Dreaming about Papa Leg, but he bringing you a message. You need to figure out what it is.
Okay, there we go. Was Enlil and Inky here before us, or we came from them?
The Earthborn was already people here when the Anunnaki came, right? And when they came, they integrated with the people that was already here and formed a hybrid, an Anunnaki human hybrid. That's what we are in modern times, right? And they interacted with us on several different occasions. These is what they call in the theory of evolution the missing links. But it's really not the theory of evolution, right? It's really the intervention in the genome by the alien beings, and they manipulated the genome to cause us to forget, to shorten our lifespan, and
Right.
to make us controllable to do their work as Lulu-Amanu, as primitive workers.
Mm.
And then some of the ones that was in the Anunnaki royal house that wasn't working in the mines didn't agree with that shit.
And that's when they created them other people. Okay, bad. And I'm gonna post a question, bro. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, here you go. He kind of went over this earlier a little bit.
Yeah, Jacob is Yakub. The last name Jacob's just supposed to be Hebrew. Jacob is the Hebrew name.
Mm-hmm.
It means supplanter, underminer. When they gave us these names, when they came over here, they was tagging our bloodlines. Some of them wasn't our names.
Mm. Okay, I'll save that one. Because the Yakub story is fascinating. But
I did a series on Young Elder Show showing y'all exactly what the Yakub story was.
Okay.
With references.
All right, I have to tap that in. You said with Young Elder?
Yeah, it's like a 3 or 4 part series.
Okay, but that's on his Instagram?
YouTube.
Okay. If your family said they're Cherokee, how do you really find out that you're from the land? Or if, I don't know where that question just went. It just disappeared on its own. Or if they're of the invaders. I think she might have dipped out. So it took her question. So I'll just put that back. I had a dream about him. Oh, okay. She said she had a dream about you. Can you explain what you're telling her or what they're telling me to tell him or tell me? Like, what's the communication? She had a dream about you.
You don't translate dreams like that. That's enough information. I actually got to hear the dream circumstances, the surroundings. Then I got to know a bunch of questions go with that.
Yeah, colors, all of that. The black Masons. It don't matter, but I'll put it up there.
It depends. Okay, so all of the lodges has been infiltrated. So, you have to judge them by an individual that you know. You can't judge the whole lodge because you got good motherfuckers in the lodge and you got dirty motherfuckers in the lodge, and all of them been infiltrated and compromised.
Yeah, we single lives. Kind of like the NOI back then with Malcolm X. It's a lot of dream questions. You must not have did a dream live in a minute.
The Liberia project took a lot of us over to Africa, to Liberia, and many of us ended up in Ghana. Most of us don't know that. So a lot of us was under believing that slave narrative when the first back to Africa movement was called the Liberia movement, right? It was a lot of us that went to Ghana as well. Not just Ghana, the whole Gold Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, and Western South Africa as well. That's part of your Pan-African studies. That's why Garvey was stressing it so much.
You're studying the Pan-Africanism.
Right, because
so the
Africans going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you. We ain't from over there. We was already here. And we don't make that, as Garvey called it, that confraternity connection. Then we going to be stuck with the narrative the invaders gave us, with no way to disprove it, which is going to make us forfeit the right to our own shit. But when we go study the Pan-Africanism and the Africans is telling us don't believe that bullshit, they look like us, but they not us. The Africans say the same thing we say. The Arabs say the same thing we say. They look like us, but they ain't us. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Why is that saying in all of these places? Because all of these places was invaded by the Etruscans, who became known as the conquistadors, who became known as the blackamoors. So the challenges was the George Washington challenge in the Masonic Lodge was the challenge versus the fezzes versus the feathers, master versus master. Is it one of y'all chiefs can rise up and know what side of the water you from? Will you know that you didn't come over here with a fez on? You was already here with a head full of feathers. Well, I ain't come over here with no fez on. Before it was ever a fez here, I had my feathers. So when I know that the lodges is infiltrated, I got to raise myself. That I can't go in their lodges if they infiltrated, because they're gonna immediately know who I am. And then I got 3 ruffians again. Jebbaline, and Jebbalo. Busting me upside my head and shit. I ain't finna be going through that. I'll fuck one of them niggas up.
So does that go into like discernment, or like your soul already knowing like who you belong to or what side you belong to, or is it true that people are easily manipulated into that doctrine, or just like thinking that they're Moorish but they're really not?
Look, most people didn't start hearing about that shit till the 90s. That's around now. And most of the people that start hearing about it got it out of prison. And all of these grandiose claims to be in a superior jurisdiction to the government, all the time they having you becoming inferior to the government. They slave catching and don't even know it. The presumption of knowledge is worse than motherfucking no knowledge at all. Because you definitely going to be misleading the motherfucker. So the good Moors came in with feathers to accept the challenge. And we had to win affairs. We was getting our ass kicked. They was telling us that shit. We was believing the shit out that shit.
How was it so effective to where they made us forget where we came from so effectively? How did they do it so effectively to where even though the amnesia that comes with like our great grandparents and grandparents telling us who we are, and then we just wiping it off or wiping it away, saying
the appearance of being official. It's true because I got it wrote down here on this piece of paper I just wrote. Right? It's true because it's written right here on this piece of paper I just wrote.
Mm.
That's never been verification of truth for us. The truth resonated on the frequency of the heart. If it don't sync with the heart's energy, then it's automatically false. The greatest expression of love is to tell the truth regardless of the consequences.
That's where that saying comes. You can't manipulate a true man.
No.
Right? Even with seduction, like a woman can't even tempt a true man because he's based off of what is right and what feels right, and he already knows what's right and wrong. He's already made that determination a while ago.
Yeah.
So, like for me, when I came across that information more, like when I first started getting into learning the rights, the system and learning your rights, that was one of the first things that I came across was the Moorish doctrine and everything that came along with that. But it just never resonated with me for some reason. I had a few people around me like, oh yeah, I'm gonna change my name to Bay this, L that. And I was just like, I don't know about that, bro.
I knew when I first seen Noble Drew Ali, I didn't remember him like that. I recognized the face. I did not remember the head wrap. I do remember seeing him with plumes of feathers. I don't never remember seeing him with a turban on in past lives.
So you think they hijacked it?
He was part of the war. He had to go into their system, into the Scottish Rite. He went and sat with more Zionist Jews in New Jersey to find out what they were doing. We didn't know what they were doing to us. So then when he said he put all of their secrets in the public domain, it made it where we can read, what Chiefs now can read this shit.
To find
the alchemical name. The name had to be alchemically charged over a period of time. Now, in order to have the 100 monkey effect, in order to make the vibration of this planet uninhabitable for this beast, I had to figure out a way to get the people to chant the word, more free us. More free us. I had to figure out a way. So I attached it to the music industry, turned it into a rhythmic tone. Because, the sacred tones is the key to all this. When you intone the correct vibration, it all comes crumbling down on his head. He can't control us with this wickedness. Now, we all know that the human seed was corrupted. And this is how, like the Saudi family have those who wish to do Mother Teresa type work with all that surplus wealth. But then you have those who wish to look at it in a vault with big eyes and be like, oh my, I'm rich. Now, the ones who want to do the Mother Teresa type work need to be in charge of the money. The other ones need to be beheaded. But that's not my responsibility. That's up to the people of the Saudi to deal with their royal family, because they need to weed out the imposters so that the people can live comfortable all over Saudi Arabia. It's the same with every one of those countries. Now, you got outside forces interfering in your personal business. You got outside forces interfering in your personal business. And the reason why this is y'all all have a common religion called Islam. In this common religion of Islam, y'all used to have something called the Caliphate. The Caliphate could enforce the Sharia law. Well, we had a Sharia law over here, and they have our Mufti, Angel Bay, indisposed, so we can't exercise our rights to our Sharia law under the Moorish Empire because they've divided us so terrible. But Malik Angel Bay is our chief Mufti. He is the one in charge of enforcing the law here. What do? Accuse him of terrorism, as they always do when somebody righteous try to do something right. They villainize him. So, whatever his order be to his people, I'm gonna get out the way. I just hope that it be a peaceful motion first. You see. Then we had a statesman And he was to teach us business and how to interact with one another. And this man was supposed to teach us how to carry ourselves in unity and to be able to break the barriers. And we call him Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover is our statesman and our diplomat. They put him in prison, and he was about to come home. They fabricated cases. Now, everybody with a drug case, y'all need to understand something. There's a federal statute in the United States Code that says when the government commits a crime, and uses the citizenry as a method to carry out the crime, the citizenry are not responsible for that crime. In other words, everybody with a dope case is in direct violation of every portion of your United States Constitution because they are agents of the government and they're not supposed to be punished. They're supposed to have qualified immunity for anything narcotic related because the government is the ones bringing the narcotics. Iran-Contra exposed the rats for who they were. Everybody thought Ronald Reagan was the bad guy. Ronald Reagan was scared to death. They did not tell you Nancy was forced to keep him sedated for the remainder of his life so he could never tell the story about George Herbert Walker Bush and his role with Central Intelligence in bringing all this drugs over here. But Iran-Contra Senate hearings will show you where I don't have to prove it. They proved it to you before I even said it. This should automatically have every drug case brought to the surface. And everybody with a drug case and to this day, act as an agent of government. You can continuously prove this because George Walker Bush, right now, still got troops guarding opium fields in Afghanistan. They're still there. Why are they doing it? Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Pick up that book, Behold the Pale Horse, written by William Cooper, and he tells you about the law that was passed in the late night hours by a select Senate committee in order to make George Herbert Walker Bush King George I of the United States. We count them backwards. Understand me? You have to count them backwards because it was started from King George III. Count them backwards. He was supposed to have the reins. 9/11 was their coup de grace. 9/11 was done by Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, George Walker Bush at the command of George Herbert Walker Bush in the act of treason. Bill Clinton, George Herbert Walker Bush's adopted son, was in on it in as much as he knew what was going on and continued to keep up the charade. So what do we do about this? We find a righteous man somewhere. We let him kind of like villainize him, but not really. Kind of like make him look bad, but not really. They make him look like a man, a regular man, and put him in office. And when they put him in office, they say, we'll put you in office and we're going to give you this job. And you're going to have to drain the swamp. But you have to let the people believe you still following the agenda of this wicked bastard so that we can overthrow this tyranny that's suffocating everybody on earth. We looked around and there was a very eloquent supporter of Ronald Reagan and dear friend of his that loved him greatly and mourned him for a very long time, even while he was alive because he knew what they were doing to him and he was under the threat of death. He was bound to silence. I'm not part of no organization that can threaten me. Everything that I'm part of is about redemption and righteousness. So we trained him. I tried to tell y'all, you see, we sent him to Vincent Kennedy McMahon to be seasoned in learning how to be the bad guy. So you go back and you watch wrestling, you see Donald Trump in wrestling beefing with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, learning how to be a heel. He had to learn how to be the bad guy.
because he's not really a bad guy. But he had to play the role. See, in order to catch a serpent, you might have to play the serpent. In order to catch a thief, you might have to play the thief. And this is all part of life. And this is all part of the way that, hey, how you doing? This is all part of the way we get from under this tyrant. So he drained the swamp. This side of the water, but we have swamp lands all over the world. So when he drained the swamp, all right now, when he drained the swamp here, Vladimir Putin drained the swamp there. Nobody wanted to talk to North Korea because they went right from day one. It's not that South Korea wrong. South Korea was sequestered from North Korea in an attempt to split the nation, and they did it. But North Korea had a backer in China that kept the wolves at bay long enough for me to expose the fraud. And so when Donald Trump went to go talk to him, he told him, we don't have to keep it up no more. He is here. He's going to set the record straight. So the Vietnam War was about a $1 bet. All of those people suffered in Vietnam and died on both sides of the conflict was about a $1 bet between billionaires. It's all documented, and it's a parody of it called Coming to America. The two old men, it's not hard to find. Now, once this is exposed to the public in a sufficient format, I'm going to go back, pool all my resources, and I'm going to show you where every reference is for everything I'm telling you. They all know. Now, it's a problem I got here. Problem I got with entertainment. Because entertainment is supposed to beautify the life of humanity with art and music. It's supposed to give us plays, what we call them today, motion picture. It's supposed to give us stuff to give us a break between work and during our work phase of life where we are beautified in the mind and the heart to keep us into a loving state, an uplifted state. Next thing you know, here comes Zionists. Well, who the hell are they and where they come from? Now, they're like, you anti-Semitic. I don't even know what that is. I can't find Semitics nowhere in history. How can I be against something that don't exist? So I look into this, and they got this group, two of them. One's called the Jewish Defense League, and one called Anti-Defamation League. One of them, the Jewish Defense League, are the ones that's the strong arm of the Zionist movement. They the ones that they call. It's a joke in the Screen Actors Guild in various parts of Hollywood. They call them star whackers. That's what they call them over there. They call them star whackers. But they kill entertainers that don't want to surrender their wealth after their careers. So you see what happened to Michael Jackson. You see what happened to Tupac. You see what happened to Biggie. They want us to look like it's something other than what it is. They playing, we playing. We're going to find out who got the best plan when it's all over with. Now, watch this. They go over there, they set up these companies. Now, they leave signatures behind. The Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM Studios, are very closely related to Golda Meir, who was one of the prime ministers of what we call Israel today. And they take the money from people that earn it because they feel entitled. This entitlement shit is bad, man. This is horrible. We got to get that out of the minds of the people. Nobody ain't entitled to nothing they don't earn. The only entitled person is an adolescent child. Nobody else is entitled. An adolescent child didn't actually be here. But by the time he becomes a teen, he begins to learn how to take on the responsibility as himself. When he becomes an adult, he begins to learn how to enter into the work field and provide and produce. But some of them excel at an earlier age. So they need a different format. The educational format is controlled. If you get the book, The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, it's the entire blueprint. Now, I'm going to assemble my team of researchers, and I'm going to pick it apart for y'all and show y'all, because I already did it myself, so I know everything in it there that they said they had to control the world, they already did. Not going to do, they already did it. Their signature is on all their works. So they need to be compensated for their unjust works with justice. They need to be compensated for their unjust works with justice. So now, what do? We go to Hollywood and we get rid of the Jewish Defense League's positions of power. They don't need to be there. But this is how we going to do it so it don't cause too much disruptions in the day-to-day life. Every one of them, like example, I want Ted Fields to have to get in the UFC cage with Suge Knight and see how he fare. I want David Kenner to have to scrap with Dr. Dre and see how he fare. No, Harry-O. Send him in there with Harry-O in the joint. Let him go down there and fight Harry-O. See, Harry-O in there on some BS. You see? But he ain't no fool. So they take his money and start companies with and don't want to pay his money back to him that he earned by working for the government in sales and distribution. Working for the government. He can't be in prison for working for the government. It's not a crime to work for your government. That's patriotic at heart. He was working for your government. The same with Freeway Ricky Ross. He was working for your government, but when Russell Poole exposed him, now they got to lock him up because the government don't want you to know they behind it, because then you're going to start asking questions. When you start asking questions, you're going to find out that it's a rogue faction of government. We've been infiltrated. Well, when did it happen? Go back. Dwight D. Eisenhower, leaving office, his farewell address, he told you about military-industrial complex and the potential of its power of oppression of all people on earth. America has assembled its military force called the Leviathan Force around the world under the military-industrial complex. Now, if you know your biblical text, you know what the Leviathan is, the great beast. You know what it is. You know who was behind it. But it ain't the people of America. It's a rogue faction within the government of America that's pushing this agenda. What do? We drain the swamp. Now we gave Donald Trump a job to get the imposters out at high levels of politics, and he exposed Hillary and her husband, William Jefferson Clinton. And he exposed, he haven't exposed them, but he is addressing it, has addressed it. Your Bushes, your Rumsfelds, your Cheneys, they all know what's up. They all in on it together. There's only one of these jackals I ain't quite figured out yet, so I'm not going to put his name in here. Because it looked like, but he might have been going to the right. So I'm not going to mention him. I have to talk to my elders that know him better than I do in order to determine if what I see is really what I see. Because at the close of the age, as you get closer to where I'm at, more deception is exposed, so the righteous have to use a greater deception than the deceiver. So sometimes the misdirection is confusing. I can go do the math on it, but I haven't done it yet because I don't want it really to be true, and I want to give the people an opportunity. Now, politics, as we see it, is corrupt. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's corrupt. We need to revamp the whole system in every nation around this planet. One country at a time, But everybody got to start at home first. Everybody at home got to get the imposters out their house. When all of the imposters is in the streets, then we know what we up against. You know, that fake love, fake hugs, that shit. It's over. Now, all of the ones responsible, they gonna have an opportunity to defend themselves with the facts. But if they can't defend themselves with the facts and satisfy the people, they're gonna have to get in that cage. And the ones that they wrong can pick who they want to resolve the matter. See, we got Dana White in this UFC stuff. And we got him there for a reason. Dana White's job is to make it, he was to help Europe develop their own fighting style on the heels of what happened in Babylon. Everybody gave a drop of blood, and then Europe was supposed to develop to their own level of greatness so that they can have their name in the history books. This was supposed to be done as Greeks, but they were sacked by Rome and raped by Rome, figuratively and literally. Figuratively and literally. All of this stuff is verifiable and will be verified with the facts in written form and video format. I'm going to do all of this work to show y'all. Now, I did a lot of work to get where I'm at now because I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I did a whole lot of research, investigation for a long time to find out why are we suffering like we are. I did the work. I got some more work now. While the imposters are being weeded out, they gonna all be sick.
Is and why we call her Big Mama.
Okay, so if you go to Egypt and you look in the Parthenon of Isis or the Temple of Isis in Dendora, you see this star zodiac in the ceiling. As you zoom in to the center, you're going to see what's known as Tawaret. She is the zoo type of a hippopotamus, and she got in one hand, she got a big ass meat cleaver. All right. The energy that comes from the center of the universe is her energy. Right. As prime creator, we call her Big Mama because when we have a Big Mama on Earth, she represents that energy. She behaves according to the energy that the universe operates from. She don't behave on what our hopes, wishes, and desires is. She's true to self and true to nature. So the prime creator is Big Mama. And we call our representatives or the head of the families in the matriarchy Big Mama. And then all of the Big Mamas get together and they form a council of elders. And they become the lawmakers. So they collectively harness more Big Mama energy or prime creator energy than anybody else because they are tuned in from their life lessons to the frequency. So they can, it's like your ancestors. Your ancestors talk to you through children and elders. They don't talk to you through somebody living in the humdrum of life because they can't hear them. So when we say Big Mama and Big Mama energy, we're talking prime creator and prime creative energies.
So with that being said, I remember I asked you this question prior in another live, to be able to distinguish the difference between the concept of Big Mama and the concept of non-ether. Can you just give just a brief explanation of that for the listeners?
So we call prime creator Big Mama. Non-ether is the energy she used to create dark matter, which is pure Big Mama energy. So when we talking non-ether, this is what we're talking about. The highest expression of all creative forces rolled into one. Non-ether. And it's reflected on the earth by the lowest frequency to maintain the holographic matrix of 6 ether.
So we always been taught that you have 9 ether, 6 ether, and 3 ether, right? And relative to the physical, 9 ether beings was considered dark-skinned woolly-haired people or the black or brown race. And the 6 ether and the 3 ether represented the pale and albino races. How true is that in relation to the knowledge that you know about 9 ether, 6 ether, and 3 ether?
I'm not familiar with the 3 ether. I know that the 6 ether, as Pops explained it, 6 ether in death becomes ghost, right? And ghost is going back to prime source, the back way, the bottom way. Whereas 9 ether is going to source out the top. That's why they got us disoriented. South is up, north is down, but they told us it's the other way around.
Right. Now, I made a PowerPoint a while back about that. And I made a video about 2 years ago about it, you know, breaking it down from a thermodynamic perspective. I'm showing everybody the thermodynamic process of 9 ether going from 9 to 6 and 6 to 3, 3 back to 6 and 6 back to 9. So I follow you.
Mm-hmm. So the paradigm of 369 is predicated upon a 3-sided pyramid. And the 3-sided pyramid, it's the pyramid means fire in the middle. So the 3-sided pyramid becomes the agency by which you harness the what they call the creative fires or the creative energies, which is again dark matter, unseen energy, and you're able to utilize it to effectuate all type of alchemical processes in varying different things. So you take a dull razor blade and you set it under a small pyramid, and next thing you know, it's sharp for no reason.
That's interesting. So when we talk about numerology numbers, right? We see that there was a video that I watched on Nikola Tesla, and he was breaking down certain numbers that had basically various influences on the universe, and he used 369. What are the relevance to those 3 numbers as it relates to the universe?
The 369 is the creative potentialities. It starts with the 3. Remember, 2 or more gathered together in my name, there I am also. If 2 gathered together and I am there also, it'd be number 3.
Right.
Right. So now, if you're building a pyramid with 3 sides, you got I am there also 3 times with the 3, then the 6, then the 9. So now you got triple creative potentialities converging at the center of the pyramid, which generates the fire in the middle.
Okay. That's pretty much what the video was explaining, but they just went a little bit more in depth, and they was just showing like when you add these numbers from the top to the bottom, you know, it all comes back to 9, and pretty much the narrative was that 9 was the highest number in mathematics.
It is. In Egypt, they don't count from 1 to 9. They count from 9 to 1. But over here, well, they actually count from 10 to 1. 10 being the highest expression of alpha meeting omega, the unity of the beginning and the ending. It's represented by the serpent with the tail in his mouth.
Okay. So let's go here with it then. All right. So when you start talking about the origin, structure, and evolution of the universe, they always name a prime mover. Would that prime mover be Big Mama?
That's Big Mama energy.
Okay. And
it's called, in modern science, it's called prima mater. If you look at the word prima mater, it really translates from Latin to English as the prime mother.
Right, because matter does mean mother in etymology.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they actually trying to convey by using the terminology prime mother? I mean, not prime mother, I'm sorry, prime mover.
They're just trying to talk over your head with double talk, because we know that the prime mover is the prime mother.
Right.
So if the source don't say it, it don't move.
Okay. So if we look at the fact that the sisters, or are supposed to be in the position of actually like ruling and building the council. But when we look in history, men have pretty much overthrown them. In what way, when the matriarchal society rises like completely, can we make sure, or is there a way that we can make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, the only reason why it happened because of what Bobby Hemming liked to call the great debauchery, when they created some synthetic humans that were sentient. And that violated galactic law because they had no right of ascension.
Okay. What does right of ascension represent?
Your ability to traverse higher realms of consciousness. What used to happen with them is they would have a neurological shutdown whenever the sacred secretion began to rise. It caused strokes, and it caused them to end up like Stephen Hawkins. If their thoughts get too powerful, their body starts to suffer because they are genetically engineered to die before they ever reach God status.
Okay. So explain right of ascension.
The right of ascension is one of the earth rights, right? And the women have always been in charge of the earth rights. And it's your right to be unrestricted in your spiritual development in the free will universe. It's a right. It's not a privilege. So when you deprive somebody of the right to ascend and they sentient, then you acting as what we would call in modern terminologies as devil.
Okay. That's deep, because now it's almost like saying that everything has its proper place and position. And when you're moving contrary to that, for one, it's going to disrupt the harmony of it all, but it's also going to actually put you in a certain level, or put you on a certain level, I should say, that gives you pretty much a bad disposition.
Right. So when we talk about earth rights, right, that's the right to do what's necessary for the maintenance of the land, the air, and the water, which we call the Great Law. And that right falls to the women first because Earth is a feminine planet. Had we been on Mars, patriarchy would have been the order. We're not on Mars. We on Earth.
Okay. So would you say that that's coming more sooner than later as far as this re-erection of the matriarchal society, or we still have a long way to go?
It's happening in real time. Most people not even seeing it because they're too caught up in the humdrum of go to work, send the kids to school, come home, cook dinner, and go to bed. They can't see shit. Their life is going by in a blur. They doing the same thing today that they was doing on this day 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's why they teach you to follow habits, so that you won't be able to innovate on anything new because you fall into that into a cycle, and that cycle is what locks you into the slavery. It's all systematically designed that way.
So what qualities do we need to look for in the system to notice that they have what it takes to be in that position? Because I'm pretty sure that everyone may not, fit the criteria.
Most loved, most respected is the standard. The sister that's most loved and respected by the most women around the world is the highest ranked woman on the planet.
I remember you said that you referred to Farrakhan's wife, who presently holds those qualities.
Yeah, she is the most loved, most respected out of all of the women leaders she met around the world. They all loved her and respected her more than they did each other.
Do you think that that's due to Farrakhan being Farrakhan, or her blazing her own path?
That's like saying what came first, the chicken or the egg. They can listen. When they went to Claire got to get a juice to at that time her name is Betsy Ross.
Right.
She got to give her the juice. The only way she gonna give her the juice is if she give her the righteous name. The righteous name is Khadijah. Her name is not Khadijah Farrakhan, it's Khadijah Muhammad.
Right.
Farrakhan name is Farrakhan Muhammad. Right? But we tend to call her Khadijah Farrakhan and call him Louis Farrakhan. That's because we don't know who they is.
Okay.
In Egypt, Farrakhan was known as the Pharaoh A', who was the interim leader when King Tut was assassinated.
Okay. So back to Egypt, this is another question I've been asked for you to expound on. Why did the Egyptians put different animals' heads to represent different gods and goddesses? Like, what does those animals have in common with those energies of those deities?
Every tribe have a totem animal that represents their clan. So let's say over here, you see a totem pole, you see mostly animals on it. Those are the totem animal of each tribe that's on that pole. That's who's in this area. The totem animal just tells you whose turn it is to rule.
Okay. So the Egyptians used a plethora of different animals. They use frogs, they use
all
lions.
of those clans have ruled already. It's only one left. The last one to rise to power, you don't see him in the hieroglyphics. And that's the gorilla.
Who is that?
The gorilla.
Okay, and why is that?
Because it's time to rule hadn't came yet. It just now got here.
So what intellectually speaking was it that created that representation for the deities?
The zoo type?
The who?
What do you mean, what do you mean by representation of the deities?
Okay, so the goddess Sekhmet had a lion head or a lioness head. Mm-hmm. Why did they associate the lion with her, but they associated the ibis bird with Thoth or Tahuti?
So the lioness, you study the lion and you understand why she's represented as the lioness. The Sekhmet position is the next one of the Sibyls in line to become the queen of heaven and earth.
Okay.
Right? So she'll be Sekhmet until the rule of the former Osset has been exhausted or depleted. And then the Sekhmet is the next in line. So it's a priesthood under Sekhmet. It's a priesthood under Bast. Bast fall under Sekhmet. Bast is represented by the Black Panther, a cat. And also the house cats, which is the familiars of those who come from the house of the feline. Feline right. Means feminine line, meaning the mother line of rulership on earth. Tahuti having the ibis head is because the way that the bird, when he's looking for his food, it appears to be studying. So the bird, the Benu bird that studies became synonymous with the man who studied out of the bird clans, right? And there's all kind of bird clans, hawks, falcons, eagles, condors, vultures. They all have a different expression, but they all fall under Tahuti as the feathered serpents.
So what should the brothers be doing right now? Us as the men, what should we be doing right now?
Everybody got to do what they feel in their heart they're driven to do. For somebody to tell you what you should be doing, that means that you don't know who you are yet.
Right.
So the first order of business is to study the self. Find out who you are. Look for yourself in everything you read and write.
Okay. So the reason why, I'm guessing this now, one of the brothers asked that is maybe because there may be some specific things. Of course, we know, the shadow work has to be done, but maybe some other things that they, I guess, hadn't yet come to the realization that, the brothers should actually be doing to put themselves in a better position.
Well, a couple of things you should be doing: clean your filters, your liver, kidneys, your lymphatic system. They got herbs that do all of that stuff. Any excuse me. Anybody that work in most health food stores, when you ask them what clean the liver, they're gonna say burdock root, dandelion leaf, milk thistle are the best, right? And that's the beginning. Then you need a heavy metal cleanse because the soft metals, aluminum, iron, and whatnot, they contaminate the system and they causes a misfiring in the nerves. A buildup of metals in the brain can give you a stroke.
So, are there any specific natural herbs that you could give the brothers and sisters that that may actually help to do all these things?
Well, I just told you, burdock root, milk thistle, and dandelion cleans the liver. Then you can use what's his name of this? Green algae and cilantro to get the heavy metals out. One of them is a flush. That means they get it all up. And the other one is a binder in order to excrete it. It's so many supplements. I got a herbalist, Doc Pitt, on Facebook. I refer all the people that ask me so he can give them something based on having a conversation with them that's geared more specifically to what their current issue is. We also need to learn how to take spiritual baths, which is a constant spiritual cleansing process. Baptism was not a once in a lifetime or once a year thing. It was a daily ritual of bathing, right? Anointing and baptism is two different things.
Okay. So one of the questions in the chat says, is sitting in silence for an hour a day good for shadow work?
Can you read that again?
Is sitting with yourself in silence 1 hour a day good for shadow work?
That's part of it. But while you sitting in solitude, you have to look at the stuff you don't like in other people and make sure that's not part of who you are. Because those are things we normally condemn in other people first. The things that we do that we don't like.